Hey guys, I want to share with you out of my new book, God, Where Are You? ? You know, Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, there are seasons in our life and every season has a purpose. It's very important that we understand the season we are in so we behave correctly. The season I'm talking to you about is the wilderness. You say, the wilderness? What? Yes. What is the wilderness? First of all, let me give you its raw definition. The wilderness is this. It is when God's presence seems like it's a million miles away from you, and His promises that He made to you are even further. In fact, it seems like you are going the opposite direction of the promises. If you think of Joseph in the Bible, you're going to be a great leader, your brothers are going to serve you, but then he goes from pit to slavery to dungeon. So he is in this season that looks like he's going away from what God promised him, not what God promised him. Job is another man who went through a wilderness season. Job made this statement, and I love this because it perfectly describes what happens in a wilderness. He said, look, I go forward, but He, God, is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive Him when He works. Now notice God is working on Job's behalf. When He works on the left hand, I cannot behold Him. When He turns to the right hand, I cannot see Him. But He knows the way that I take. Why? Because He's still actively involved. He has made us a promise. I will never leave you nor forsake you. And as Christians, we must understand there are two types of the presence of God. There is the omnipresence of God. What does that mean? That is the presence of God that David said, if I go to the highest mountain, you're there. If I go to the lowest valley, you're there. That is the presence of God that promises us, I will never leave you nor forsake you. But there is another presence of God that is very valid in the Christian walk that Jesus talks about in John 14. And He said, I will manifest myself to you. Manifest means bringing out of the unseen into the seen, out of the unknown into the known, out of the unheard into the heard. It is when God manifests Himself to your senses. That is the presence of God that I am talking about. That presence seems elusive in a wilderness season. I remember when I went through my first wilderness season, I was like, God, I don't get it. When I was a baby Christian, if I just whispered your name, your presence was there. If I prayed some of the most ridiculous things like, Lord, heal my cassette player. For some of you, you don't even know what that is. But anyway, go look it up on Google. It's prehistoric. I remember my cassette player was broken, and I laid hands on it because I was like, God, I'm a broke college student. I got to have this to hear my worship and teaching. And you know, it started working. But then all of a sudden, His presence was a little elusive. Why does He do this? Let me give you one quick example so you'll understand it. When Addison, our firstborn son, was a baby, man, every whimper, every cry, Lisa was there. He was so cared for. But then the day came, we had to let this boy learn how to eat. So it used to be Mom and Dad would just spoon feed him. He'd get all the food in him in just like 5 minutes, right? Well, now it's 45 minutes. Half the food is all over the floor, and he's looking at us while we're staring at him going, why are you such cruel parents? We weren't being cruel. We didn't want an 18-year-old who was still being spoon-fed. Hey, what God doesn't want is an 18-year-old believer who He still has to spoon feed. I'll talk more about it later on the book, God, Where Are You?